Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP. Nick is here in attendance with me today because we are going to be going through the events of last night's Monday Night Raw. We're talking about the Monday 24th edition of Raw. And yeah, let's basically get down into the action, break it all down, and just talk about everything that took place throughout the course of the night. So, this is our go home show before the Elimination Chamber. We kick things off with CM Punk and Logan Paul. Most importantly, Logan Paul, you come out to the ring first. He would start to basically just, do the do the classic heel in the local area type thing. He is from Ohio, but not quite from this park. I think he's from Cleveland rather than where they were last night. But yeah, he basically come out and say some stuff like basically just slamming the city, and CM Punk would eventually come on down when Logan started to shift his attention towards the Elimination Chamber. CM Punk and Logan Paul would have a little bit of a back and forth between the two, and it would just essentially be roughly regarding how the Elimination Chamber is going to go, and the hopes of going into WrestleMania and challenging Cody Rhodes. Logan wouldn't leave the ring without giving a slap to CM Punk before he would escape, and Punk basically just warning him, saying, "Look, I'm going to get you back for that Elimination Chamber this weekend, so you better watch yourself." That would be the opening segment of the night. But then we get into all the action. So starting with our first match of the night would be Ludwig Kaiser going up against Pete Dunne as well as Penta in a triple threat contest. We've seen Penta on some really tremendous form as of recently, winning basically every single match that he's had so far. Obviously, the Royal Rumble doesn't really count, I suppose, because it's not a one-on-one contest. But hey, this is a triple threat, so a little bit different here. But hey, Penta looked fantastic throughout the whole thing, as he normally does. Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser both looking tremendous as well. Everyone getting involved in the action, no one really shying away from anything here. And it would be Ludwig Kaiser that would get the win. A little bit of a shock to me. I just assumed and expected Penta to get another victory here to carry things on. But he wasn't pinned. It was Ludwig Kaiser pinning Pete Dunne in order to get the victory here. And yeah, it was a nice competitive triple threat contest. Everybody sort of like had their own little elements throughout. And a nice surprise having Ludwig Kaiser win. I think that will do him, the world of good really going forward. Obviously, after the Royal Rumble, he himself only lasting, a few seconds. It was 6 seconds in total. So this is a nice little change, maybe of luck for Ludwig Kaiser. So after that, we would then go on to a tag team contest between the New Day and the LWO. It would be a pretty standard affair here. I think nobody really expected the LWO to defeat the New Day. This complete change of attitude, New Day, and they just had a chance here to basically continue their momentum and to get back-to-back wins, which was exactly what they needed. It's the right result here, as far as I'm concerned. And no real surprises there. But after the contest, we'd have Dragon Lee storm down to the ring. He would attempt to come to the aid of the other LWO members, but it would be the New Day who would actually overcome Dragon Lee and, provide the 2-on-1, the numbers game. Maybe a little bit too much there for Dragon Lee. So they'd leave him waist in the middle of the ring, and they would stand tall at the end of the segment. A pretty strong segment for New Day here. Obviously, filling a little bit of time whilst Rey Mysterio is out, selling that injury. The attack from the New Day a couple of weeks ago post-Raw. So, yeah, it makes sense that they're keeping him out of action for a little while. And for now, they're sort of like filling the time basically until he does return. But yeah, a good win for New Day, a needed one as well. We would then go on to our next segment, which would be Der Ring General Gunther, the World Heavyweight Champion. He would come down to the ring after having seen the Alpha Academy earlier on tonight, recording a TikTok video for social media purposes. Gunther obviously not too happy with that one. Would basically come on down. He'd say, "You know what? Actually, I'm going to compete tonight. I spoke to Adam Pearce, and he said, well, yeah, you can get in a match. Why not?" He's not going to say no, is he? So Gunther would issue a hand-picked opponent challenge here, where he would choose to go one-on-one with Akira Tozawa of the Alpha Academy. So obviously, referencing that little segment earlier on between, I guess, Gunther and just, them just having noticed them backstage. But Gunther would pick Akira Tozawa, and he'd basically try and make a statement by just absolutely destroying Akira. He'd give Akira the chance to, earn Gunther's respect, to give him a chance to, to get on the same playing field as him. But, I mean, the match was pretty one-sided. Apart from a very, very little bit of rally from Akira Tozawa, it was essentially all Gunther. He would pick up the victory. Afterwards, we'd have a little bit of post-match confrontation between Otis and Gunther. He'd try and come to the aid of Akira Tozawa, but Gunter turning things around here, staying strong and taking down Otis as well, before main event Jey Uso would come down to the ring afterwards and basically just cancel out Gunter. Yeah, it was a segment that, just basically allows the story to continue for Gunter and Jey. Obviously, just bypassing the Alpha Academy here at this particular particular match. Yeah, a little bit of filler. I'd probably associate it as. We then go into our next contest between Lara Valkyria and Dakota Kai for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So last week we would have Dakota defeat Ivy Nile in order to get this matchup. And this is Lara Valkyria's first defense since winning the championship. It is a rematch from that original championship contest, I think, about 6-7 weeks ago. So this would be a pretty fun match, actually. Pretty good contest between the two women. Probably the better match of I think any of them so far tonight so far. But yeah, it would be a pretty good contest between the two women. In the end, I don't think it was a very long match, but it was good whilst they had the time they were given. Lara Valkyria would win and retain her Women's Intercontinental Championship, dispatching of Dakota Kai, and it would be about what happened afterwards as well, because we would see Ivy Nile storm down to the ring as Dakota was making her way backstage. She would attack Dakota Kai, and then she would charge down to the ring, attacking Lara Valkyria, eventually standing over her in the middle of the ring whilst holding up the Women's Intercontinental Championships. It's clear as day that Ivy Nile is not done with Lara Valkyria and the Intercontinental Championship, so it seems to be that they're going to be looking to build a Lara Valkyria Ivy Nile match, going forward. That seems to be the next step in the direction for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. But Nick, what did you think of these opening contests then, buddy? Including maybe a little bit of Logan and CM Punk at the start, if you will. But yeah, Penta, Pete Dunne, and Ludwig Kaiser, the triple threat. The tag team contest between New Day and LWO. Gunter's, manhandling of Akira Tozawa, and then the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought this was a great mix of promos and in-ring work to start off Raw. The Logan Paul promo, the one thing I noted from that you hadn't already mentioned was last time Logan was in Ohio, I believe it was Cleveland, and even there he got booed, which is unusual even for a heel to get booed in his hometown. But he certainly did, and obviously this was no exception on the other side of the state. Um, the only thing I really noted here, other than that, was, and maybe it was just comparable to CM Punk, but Logan Paul really felt like he didn't have as much heat as he had in previous weeks. Maybe that stems from him being here more often, and maybe this, I don't know, maybe this just wasn't his best promo. But again, that could just be because he's up against Punk, and obviously the ovation that he's going to get is much louder than the boos Logan got. But yeah, not much else to say about that one. Pretty run of the mill. But Punk definitely got the upper hand on that one. So the triple threat match, yeah, it was a great match, as should be expected with these three involved. Uh, I'd like to say Penta probably got in like 80% of the offense, it felt like. Um, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. I'm not entirely sure, but he definitely looked the best coming out of this. And then, of course, Ludwig throwing Penta out of the ring by pinning Pete Dunne. I think that's probably the best choice. Obviously, we don't want Penta to lose, and unfortunately, that puts Pete Dunne in the situation of getting pinned. So I imagine we'll see Ludwig and Penta in upcoming weeks. New Day versus LWO, yeah, is not really much to say other than the New Day continues to gain momentum, and then it was kind of surprising that even Dragon Lee couldn't really do much. From where he started on in his momentum when he first came up to Maine, and compared to now, is obviously two different stories. So I don't know if Dragon Lee were to be there at the start, it would have made a little more sense. But we won't get too much into that, I suppose. Kira Tozawa versus Gunther. I did not have that on my bingo card for Raw. But yeah, I think my only takeaway here is it was different other than Jay or Gunther coming through the crowd and just having cutting their promo first. So this was at least something a little different while making sure it stayed fresh on our minds. And I think personally, Otis versus Gunther sounds really fun, and I assume we'll get that soon. So that was my main takeaway there. And the Intercontinental title match. Yeah, another great match from these two. They have great in-ring chemistry, in my opinion. Um, I can't imagine we're going to see this match again anytime soon. Uh, and Nile coming in to get kind of make her statement, and assuming that's the next rivalry there. She got a little better crowd reaction than she had previously. I think that was the big issue with me, is that the crowd really doesn't care about her that much. I think moving in the right direction. I'm personally not sure that that she's ready for a title run quite yet, but maybe after this rivalry, maybe I'll feel differently. But for now, I think Lyra's going to be holding on to that for the long haul.
I would agree with you on that one. I think, yeah, Lara Valkyria probably is in it for the long haul, really, with this Women's Intercontinental Championship. And it is nice to, to think that, the first reigns are going to be sort of protected for a little while. Obviously, you got Chelsea agreeing with the Women's United States Championship. It's good that she hasn't lost that yet as well. But yeah, obviously, we are only talking about the first offense here. But yeah, you would probably expect Lyra to dispatch of Ivy Nile as well. Even with this whole Chad Gable, story going on with whatever they've got, trying to basically impress whilst he's away learning the lucha dark arts or something, I guess you want to call it. But yeah, you made a great point. Gunter and Akira Tozawa having a match together. Who would have ever called that happening? No one, probably. Definitely not on my bingo card either. But yeah, fun start to Raw. How about we continue with all the action that took place during the night? We're not done just yet. So, next up would be a match between Bron Breakker and Dominic Mysterio of the Judgment Day. And this one would end via disqualification. We'd have Bron Breakker technically winning after Finn Balor and Carlito would storm to the ring, and he would basically just dispatch of Bron Breakker on the outside, causing that disqualification from the official to be counted. Finn Balor and Carlito would assault Bron post-match, but Bron Breakker would manage to turn things around. He'd send Dom flying over the top rope, before then delivering a big spear to Carlito. As Finn Balor was going to grab a steel chair and to basically assault on Bron Breakker even more, Bron would have a bit of a stare down with Finn Balor over the steel chair, and essentially would intimidate Balor out of the ring and away from getting hurt for himself. But yeah, Bron Breakker continuing to be looking really, really strong. I would assume at this point we're looking at possibly an Intercontinental Championship match between maybe Bron Breakker and Finn Balor. That's my immediate take from this. I don't know, possibly, maybe not. I think there's still a little bit of depth that we can go into with this one, but that maybe is my initial take on just that sort of interaction between the two men, or maybe even just a regular match between the two. I'm not too sure, but it seems like Judgment Day are looking for the Intercontinental Championship, and Bron Breakker is obviously a target of them right now. We would then move on to a segment in ring between Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. So Cody would come down to the ring first. He would basically start discussing Rock's offer, everything that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, before Seth Rollins would quickly interfere and would, make himself known. He would go up to Cody, basically questioning if Cody's actually serious about considering the offer, and he would essentially just try and convince Cody immediately that, this is a terrible decision. What on earth are you doing? Cody would have a little bit of something to say back to Seth Rollins. He'd actually bring up Seth's past, both the good and the bad. He'd reference, turning on several people throughout his career, but also referencing, Seth having Cody's back, being his shield at last year's WrestleMania. Just sort of like, I don't know, playing a little bit of mind games with Seth Rollins, basically saying like, look, sometimes in life you got to make big decisions. You've done that yourself. You've turned on people. You've gone against, maybe your previous values. I think this is Cody's way of basically just leaving the door open for now, not completely revealing the decision that he's making, which I think we mostly all expect to be that he's not going to take up on Rock's offer. But I think he's just basically just planting some seeds to say, actually, maybe I should think about this, and maybe I should really, really consider what he had to say. The two would then build up a potential WrestleMania match together. If Seth was to win the Elimination Chamber, obviously he would go on to face Cody Rhodes, and they had a bit of a conversation regarding that hypothetical scenario. So yeah, I mean it was a nice segment between the two men. We've seen obviously a lot of history between these guys in the last couple of years. Especially since Cody Rhodes returned to WWE, they had that feud. And yeah, they've been allies since. They've been enemies, friends, whatnot, and now possibly even rivals going into this WrestleMania, depending on what would happen in the Elimination Chamber. So everything, I think everything that needed to be mentioned here was mentioned, and it was yeah, a decent segment between both men. We would then go on to our main event of the night, which would be the Women's Tag Team Championships being defended. Bianca Belair and Naomi defending against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. So Liv and Raquel, they've had the tag titles before. They're actually previous two-time Women's Tag Team Champions, and they would leave the night being a three-time Women's Tag Team Champions because they would get the victory over Naomi and Bianca Belair in that main event. It would be a brilliant match, by the way, as well. Fantastic contest between all four women. We'd had the classic Judgment Day interference at the end. Dirty Dominic Mysterio getting getting involved, getting his hands dirty, which he loves to do. But it would ultimately lead to the finish. We'd have Raquel Rodriguez on the outside. She would pull down Naomi, her face colliding against the ring post as she was looking for the split leg moonsault, and that would be enough for Liv Morgan just to crawl into a cover and get that 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I really enjoyed the match. It was fantastic. It was a great main event. I think the women, getting that main event spotlight, I think at the moment is very much a talking point in WWE as to whether they're getting enough time, whether they're getting booked strongly enough, just getting the right representation. And I think this was a nice way of basically WWE taking note and putting what clearly was the biggest match on the card in that main event. So yeah, I think a strong showing from all four women here. Really compelling contest. Yeah, the Judgment Day interference. Heels can't seem to win without that nowadays. But I think this ultimately just completely changed the landscape going into Elimination Chamber. I was thinking a Liv Morgan win. Now I have no idea. I need a bit of time to think about that. So, hey, I'm up for surprises. This is a good one as far as I'm concerned. Nick, what did you think about all of these segments then regarding the Intercontinental, no, sorry, the Intercontinental Champion being laid out by Judgment Day after that match with Dominic Mysterio, maybe setting up Finn against Breaker? What do you think about that? Cody and Seth, interesting conversation, much better than that of Cody and Rock from last week. I'm sure you'll agree. And then the Women's Tag Team Championship match. What are your thoughts on that? Quite a surprise, maybe not, but this certainly does, open up some questions regarding Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I will note, thank you for including the heels. Always have to have the interference bit. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. But sometimes, it works. And I think this was one of those occasions. Yeah, Braun versus Dom had nothing too, special about that one. I think my main takeaways there were, Breaker outnumbered 3-1, still looks strong. The sky is the limit for him, and I think I praise him every time he's on screen. So, um, with Fenn and AJ, or excuse me, Fenn and Braun in the ring at the end, that's a great side, and I think it kind of plays a part, especially with the main event and kind of the debate between the Judgment Day and that they don't need a new member. Fenn kind of, at least from that image, appears to be putting his money where his mouth is, showing that he is the leader. So obviously, Fenn versus Braun would be a great match, but the ongoing saga that seems to be Braun and his unlimited opponents seems like every week he has a new potential opponent, which isn't a bad thing at all. But last week having AJ felt like maybe that's the direction we were going, and then kind of thought, well, maybe AJ Braun Fenn, that would certainly have a mania feel to it as well. I believe I kind of said the same thing about AJ and Braun, but definitely feels like Braun's probably on the path to have more than one challenger at Mania, and I think that's fine. Um, Absolutely fine. So yeah, no complaints from me. I like the direction we're headed now. I don't think AJ is just going to let what happened or what tried to happen from Braun last week. I don't think he's going to let that happen. So I think he'll definitely be back. Just a matter of what capacity and when. And yeah, Cody versus Seth promo definitely better than the one we got from The Rock. The Rock one was interesting. It has you thinking, and I think that's the main takeaway is Cody is thinking about what he wants to do. But yeah, this was great from both Seth and Cody. My favorite bits of Seth saying, "Don't make me hate you, Cody," and then him basically saying, teaching trying to steer Cody in the right direction by saying, "Don't make the same mistakes I have." Obviously, we've seen Seth make a lot of those, and Seth at the end saying, "I'm not coming for your soul. I'm coming for your title." Obviously, Seth versus Cody is has very high potential. On I think if anyone's a fan of wrestling, they'd love to see these two in the ring again. Um, but it kind of feels like they're both kind of more faces now than they have been in the past, where they were clearly on opposite ends of everything. So yeah, no issues from me if that's the match we get. I just don't think it's going to happen. But why not give them this great promo in the meantime? And then the main event, Bianca Belair versus Liv and Raquel from the Judgment Day. Yeah, I think my only complaints, and I think we talked about this a little bit already, was with that being the main event and that being the second title match of the night. Yeah, you really felt like, to me, it felt like there's only two ways this can go. Um, you know, Jade or yeah, Judgment Day wins, the title's back, and is that because of Jade or not? I think that was kind of the main question, because it felt like with this being the main event, like it was a bit of a giveaway. But again, I'm not going to complain, because as you mentioned, it was great to see the women get some spotlight here, and that has been an issue and an ongoing topic with WWE lately. Like especially with Friday, SmackDown being the last kind of the most fresh thing on our mind. They didn't get much time, and the time they did get, it didn't look great. So this was a nice change of pace. This match was incredible. The fans were all about this one as well. And Cincinnati gets another show tonight with NXT, so hopefully they can continue to bring that momentum here. But yeah, I have no issues with this. I think this helps continue the back and forth at the Judgment Day and makes them appear to be relevant again. And now they have an argument for, hey, we're doing just fine. So I'm absolutely okay with that. Bianca Belair and Naomi are both in the chamber this weekend. So do we get a Jade appearance then? We'll have to wait and see. But hey, everything makes sense the way they booked it. And with Jade looming in the shadows here, I think it'll be sooner rather than later we finally get to see that payoff. So I think that kind of sets up great. As for Liv winning, I think that'll be an interesting thing to think about between now and Thursday when we do the predictions to get our official prediction for who will win the women's side. I think certainly not as clear, because I thought you made great points with Liv winning, and now I don't think that would make quite as much sense with them having won these titles here. So yeah, it's Mania season, and they're forcing us to think and try to figure out what direction they're headed, but they're giving us plenty of options. So yeah, this is a great Raw. Yeah, it feels like Raw is moving in the right direction. SmackDown's moving in the opposite. So, but granted, Raw started out pretty low for me personally with that Netflix premiere. But they've certainly righted that ship here. And yeah, I give this one a 10 out of 10. I thought it was incredible Raw, and really looking forward to what comes next. And this show tonight just it felt like a true Mania build Raw. And this was the go home show too. How often do we get a show that good with the go home show? So yeah, what were your overall thoughts on this Raw as a whole, KP?
Yeah, I'm pretty high on the show as well, actually. I wouldn't quite say it was a 10 out of 10 for me, but I give it a good solid 8.5 out of 10. I think it definitely was a step up from SmackDown, this past Friday, quite considerably. But yeah, like you said, the Raws since going on to Netflix haven't really hit the heights that we wanted them to. And this is one of them that I think is definitely up there in the right direction. I think they have tried their best recently to make them a bit better. But yeah, I think this is yeah, especially for a go home show. Like we normally just get these go home shows, they tend to be a little bit filler leading into the PLEs. But no, this one actually seemed to be pretty good and very very relevant, which was nice. And landscape's changing. Now I've got myself thinking is going into Elimination Chamber, that women's chamber match at the moment. I'm thinking no one's winning. Um, I'm sure someone will. I just don't know who. But yeah, I have to have a good think about it. But no, my mind is racing, and yeah, I guess that's a good thing. Off the back of this show. So yeah, no complaints from me. Really enjoyed it. Start to finish, pretty solid show throughout. And yeah, some strong matches as well as in ring, promo segments as well. So yeah, across the board, just a great one. Really, really good. Excited for Elimination Chamber. That keeps building, anticipation rising. Can't be any worse than the Royal Rumble was. So let's go and keep on moving forward. But hey, yeah, after that one, very, very positive. We will be back with an NXT recap next. That'll be coming up later this week. This has been The Push with Nick and KP. If you guys enjoy this one, please hit a like and subscribe to the channel. And also let us know in the comments what you thought of everything, because we're desperate to hear what you guys think of all of this as well. Before we do quickly close this one out, Nick, any last thoughts before we head off?
No, not really. I think just reiterating the fact that Raw appears to be going in the right direction, and let's see if NXT and SmackDown can continue that momentum leading into Elimination Chamber.
Absolutely, couldn't have hit it better myself. Hopefully they do exactly that, and we get a nice couple of wrestling shows leading into the Elimination Chamber. But for now, guys, this has been The Push with Nick and KP, and we will see you in the next one. Cheers, everybody, and goodbye.